Hey everybody, it's Jim of Animateducated, and today we're going to be taking a look at character walks. Yes, I teach animation, and we're always teaching how to do a walk cycle, a generic walk cycle, but nothing with character. And these are a bunch of character-driven walks that I think you'll enjoy. Here's one called the sneak. Now, as you can see, you can find this in the animation survival kit. He does a sneak in that. And so here, just slowed this down so you can see that as we go along here, the background and the foreground elements are all moving every 2 frames, and it's in sync with the walk. And that's makes a good walk. Now here he comes right out of it, and he turns like that. So here's one, the same thing, but with 3 different characters. And you notice how the background is actually kind of sliding along and they're kind of going. And here you can see it even better where they're just kind of strutting along. And as they move their foot back, the background continues to go every frame, I think, or every 2 frames it looks like. And it can get a little out of sync there, but maybe you're not paying attention to that as much. And it still works. It still works. So here's Popeye. Popeye is a really interesting. He's got definitely a strut here. And this is great for just kind of seeing how he's kind of got a little bounce to his step there. And as you can see, he's walking with an exact duplicate of himself, and there's a little confrontation. So let's take a look at how you get a character to go one direction and then kind of curve over to the other. And as you can see, and that foot plants, it rotates the body, and then we're kind of gets into this like just a cycle. This is just basically a walk cycle, and the camera, the background is actually moving. So he's just kind of walking in one place, and the background is timed out very well, because you can see as his foot goes backwards, so the one that's planted, the background is moving that same pacing throughout. And this is really interesting because there's another character that comes in and from perspective, and then now they've it's just basically the same walk throughout. So they just kind of mimicking the same drawings pretty much. So this must have been really a long thing to do, but basically that's just a walk that's repeated, and then at one point they come out of that to kind of look at each other. So that's where we unhook up and we kind of get to a different kind of walk where they're both looking at each other, still a walk cycle, and then we kind of go right back into the same walk like that. So this is pretty cool. You can see how the knees are bending as passing position, the up position, and now we kind of get out of all this and animate into our first pose of them just kind of staring at each other. Here's another one about walking in place. So you can see very natural. He kind of leads with the head, right? And so let's take a look. So here we go into it. We anticipate. We bring that foot up, places it down, and when he places it down, rotates the body around and brings the heel and the foot where he wants it to go. And as soon as you get that hooked up, it becomes a cycle. So this could go on for days until he decides to come out of it, like right in, I think, the next one. So he comes around. You can see it's just the same drawings over and over again. And then he kind of gets out of this. Whoops. Oh, there it is. And then we're back to that. So here's definitely a march. This is Daffy Duck. This is probably an older Daffy Duck. Maybe this is, you probably know the director that did this one. Could be Bob Clampett. I'm not sure. But he always had that, made Daffy very goofy. So let's take a look at that with a turn now. And it's a little different. So it's kind of very quick, very fast. Let's see if we can see that transition. It's basically the same walk cycle. And as you see, as soon as that foot plants on the ground and pulls back, the background's going the same distance. And now, As soon as we stop, he kind of 1, 2, 3. So it's like 3 drawings there almost. And he's back, just reversing the animation and moving the background back. So here's one with Mickey Mouse doing a pacing with Donald Duck. And this is really cool because the background's kind of, we're not really panning the background. We're actually moving, we're moving all the character and the background, but we're moving it so it's almost like the camera's moving, panning over, and then it's starting to pan the other way. And the whole point, they're looking at the when they have to pay the rent. And now Mickey's kind of shaking his head there, and he's going around. Camera goes a little bit wider over to the left, so we can see that Donald kind of forgets where he's supposed to be, and then quickly runs over and gets back in step with Mickey. We go right back into the same pose, and that's that. Now the Goofy walk, Goofy's got a definite fun walk. Art Babbitt animated a lot of Goofy stuff, and he actually came up with this walk. So you can see it, what happens with his how his feet kind of flip back and forth. Now check this out. Boom, boom, So let's watch that frame by frame. So these are like big flappy feet, and they defy laws of physics because he kicks it out like that, and then look how it kind of snaps that direction, then that direction. It's like going all over the place, but it works because he's a goofy character, and we want to show that in his crazy walk. Look at that, he spins around. This must have been really fun to kind of come up with how this guy works. So he's going to put the big ice on top of his backside to kind of lifts it up, and now we start to walk, and check out those legs. He kind of goes up. He thinks he has the ice. Of course he doesn't. And see, it kicks, kind of breaking of joints. That's what Richard Williams always talks about in his book. That's a perfect example there, how the foot just snaps over to the other thing. And watch this. On ones, boom, 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 flippity floppity floop. And then he rears that one back in with a kick and another kick like that. Okay, so this is a very determined walk. Now you can tell, see, he's very determined, and but he still has his feet doing the same wacky stuff. His upper half is very determined. He kind of goes up into this pose, moving hold, and then I like very subtly he kind of pulls up his pants, kind of goes down, grabs, pulls up, and turns, and starts to walk away, looking very determined. But those legs are still doing the wackiest thing. They're kind of going outwards and breaking the joints again. Flipping around. Look at that back foot, how it turns around as it doesn't just plant there. It just kind of slides around. All right, and then he realizes he didn't have the ice. Okay, here's a good one. Goofy backwards walk. Check this out. So we get a little idea. He's satisfied. And now he's backing up, and the camera actually pulls back to reveal the scene. But look at those feet. Look at that. And he falls down. So here, he's kind of looking off. And this is a nice one because he kind of poses, and then his eyes kind of looks towards us. He goes forward, and he kind of gives a smile to the audience, like he thinks he's figured this out. He's coming back now. There's basically these big pianos over there, and it keeps bothering him. He goes up, and very quickly he goes down with a wink. Like, yeah, that's it. Now he's going to get out of this pose. And this is where the camera is very tight, and the camera starts pulling back as the background is going the opposite way. Well, look at his legs. Look what they do. He's kind of sneaking backwards like this. He plants his foot, but it turns, flips around, and goes completely backwards. So now his whole leg, they're like bent the wrong way, but they're walking like he's walking backwards. And now it twists around, and then it kind of all over the place, you see. And that's typical goofy. I mean, it fits. I mean, anybody else walking like this would look, you might be a little odd. But it fits his character. And then he's going like this. He hits that. Look at that dry brush. He comes around. Bam. And the dry brush is just a way to blur your images. Okay. So here's another determined one. Boom. 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 Right? So watch his foot. It goes down and it stays down and then it just kind of slides over. You see? It's a very subtle move. Watch again. That foot is on the ground and then look what happened. It kind of changed places with the other one. So that's a very interesting kind of walk. And here we're going to change it up more where he's doing the passing pose position, going up and down. And then we're going to speed up even more, just be showing some of those and just have him scooching out the door like that. All right, so here's the determined walk. He's very satisfied with himself and he just kind of flippity flip flip and then he goes into the walk. And so there's two things here. He's satisfied. And now he kind of, you think he's going to just walk away, but he does this weird thing where he kind of flips up in the air and lands, and then flips up in the air and lands, and those arms are just swinging back and forth like he's walking normally. So it's all goofy, right? So now we have the crossing of the legs here. Planting the foot, the other foot comes out, breaks the joints, lands. Comes up, breaks the joints, lands. And by the time he's going to get settled to sit in the seat, this thing hits him, and now he's getting thrown out of the scene by this piano. Okay, so this is the most famous group walk ever. So here we have them walking kind of in perspective, and Dopey's the only one that is out of sync. Everybody else is pretty much walking the same way. You see, you can see their different personalities. Doc's the leader. The walk cycle is on one layer and the background is not moving. So you've got the log, you've got the mid-ground element there, and then you have the background, which is really difficult to see, but I believe the foreground and the background is one piece of art and it's just slowly moving to the left. As you go away from the scene, foreground moving faster than the mid-ground and then the background. And it creates that 3D effect. And this was really extraordinary for back in the day. So hopefully you enjoyed that, a little bit about character walks. If you enjoyed it, please go ahead and press that button right there to subscribe. And if you want to see more videos about animation, I've got this one right here. And this one right here is pretty good too. So thanks again for tuning in to Animated Educated.